I'm so sorry for that pregnant pause. My name is Elizabeth, descendant of Aaron, and this is my husband, Zechariah, of the priesthood of Abijah. And we are Advent people. What I mean is, we are people who wait in hope. Now, normally it would be customary for my husband to introduce us, but you see, he's not very chatty these days, are you, Z? Now I know what you're thinking, ladies. How did I get so lucky to marry a husband who doesn't talk? Oh, I think I've hurt his feelings. I'm just kidding, Z. Now, don't give me the silent treatment. Don't mind, Z. You'd be pretty miserable, too, if all of a sudden you couldn't talk. You see, about 9 months ago, Z was serving in the temple and offering incense when an angel suddenly appeared. The angel told him that his prayer, which of course was my prayer as well, had been answered, and that the little old me would be bearing a son. Of course, Z thought he was dreaming, or that he had smelled a little too much incense. You know what I mean? He couldn't believe what he was hearing. We had never given up praying for a son, but at this point in our lives, well, it just seemed impossible. Funny, isn't it? How we pray to God for the things that we want, but we have a hard time believing that God will actually answer our prayers. Anyway, that was the last word that Z spoke. Impossible. Apparently the angel was not impressed and gave him the world's worst case of laryngitis. Oh, you should have seen him trying to tell me what happened to him when he finally got home. Have you ever seen a 98-year-old priest play charades? It's a sight to see. And I just about died laughing when I finally figured out what he was trying to tell me. I was really no better than Z. We both had a hard time believing that our dream had come true. You see, it's just that I've had my hopes set on being a mother for so long, and year after year and after year, it never happened. Did I dare get my hopes up again, just to be disappointed? But then I remembered the story of Sarah and her son Isaac, and how she laughed too when God told Abraham she was going to have a son. Maybe my doubting laughter would become a laughter of hope, like hers. You see, they were Advent people too, waiting and hoping. And as I remembered their story of waiting, somehow it gave me the strength to hope again. It's amazing how these stories that we pass down from generation to generation can still give us hope. I remember the stories of our ancestors that my grandma told me, and her grandma told her, and so on and so forth. Stories of waiting, stories of wandering, stories of wilderness times, and yet through all the tough times, there has always been hope. I kind of feel like I'm living one of those stories right now. And so I guess that's why I'm telling my story to you, to let you know that in the waiting, in the wandering, in the wilderness, there is hope. God is faithful. Oh, we might have to wait a while, like Abraham and Sarah, like me and Z. It might seem like God is taking forever to keep a promise, but God doesn't work according to our clocks, biological or otherwise, yet God is faithful. Being Advent people means living in God's time, waiting and hoping. Z and I waited, and just look at me now. Any day my son will be born, and that gives me hope. Pregnancy has been a wonderful journey, at least most of the time. Trust me, a geriatric pregnancy is not always pretty, but it is beautiful. It's difficult, but it is life-giving. In a way, pregnancy time is like Advent time. It's a time of waiting, but also a time of hope. It's a time of pain and struggle, but also a time of great expectation, where we wonder, who will this child be? In a way, Advent people are pregnant people. Now, don't go looking at your bellies. What I mean is that people who wait and hope in God are pregnant with possibilities. They are people who endure the pain and hard labor so that new life and hope can come into the world. Sometimes it's hard to imagine that God could do something amazing in your life, especially when you're my age. But when you wait and hope, all of a sudden, anything seems possible. Once, I thought that having children was an impossibility. Now, all I can think about is all the wondrous things the angel told us about our son, that he would be great in the sight of the Lord, that the Spirit of the Lord would be upon him, and that he would prepare the way of the Lord. Finally, all the waiting, all those years of shame, the pain and the struggle, the prayers and the tears, and even putting up with a mute husband will have all been worth it. I know that one day my boy will rekindle the hope of our people, and that God will turn our hope into reality. And that is what makes us Advent people. Oh, I think I better go lie down. Z, you remain calm now. It's almost time for our baby to be born. Praise be to God.